Welcome back to Granja Caimito in the Pedroche Valley of Andalusia, Spain. We are in the wannabe food forest and have a lot of tadpoles. The welcome present for the pigs who will arrive very soon is looking great, and the giant cabbage is setting seed. This is how it looks like when there's no opportunity, for example over a weekend or on a holiday, to do some mob grazing. Because without the mob grazing they just eat what they like, and in this case they let the brassicas stand and just walk around. If we manage to do a real mob by putting up additional polywire, then they will trample it because there is no space, so they cannot really avoid it, and we are forcing them to trample what they don't need, which is then better to feed the soil. So here in the distance it was a work day and the guys were able to do some mob grazing with the help of this polywire. And the part in front of it is not yet grazed, this is reserved. So when they come back to work, then we will take care of this. But as you can see, there in the background, there is a lot less of material standing. And here is another example. This is where I explained it, but it wasn't done exactly as I said. The challenge is, here in this area, there is an emphasis on feeding the animals, and this idea of feeding the soil and making them trample everything, to a lot of people is counterintuitive, so it takes a little while for this message to sink in, because usually this is just a place where you keep the animals and you feed them, and I want this to be flattened and trampled to have this mob grazing high animal impact. It is pretty interesting to see that we have a lot more brassicas now coming up than we used to have. I would guess this is some sort of succession. Of course, I do want to have more grass, but apparently Mother Nature decides that now I should have brassicas. We will see. Here's a close-up view from above so that you can see what is growing. The former driveway here is almost gone. We covered it with straw, and as you can see, there are plants coming up. Mr. Cat likes to roam the whole place. Here he is in A15, and he apparently was over there at the neighbors. There are a few other cats. The afternoon light might not be the very best light, but it's still interesting. So I show you a little bit the amount of forage that has shown up. This has all not been grazed recently, so it's longer ago. But over the course of the next 2 weeks, the animals will be here. Might just be a week out. Now a lot more of the grasses are going to seed. This is a patch of some very interesting grass that wasn't here before. I'm not really sure what it is, but every new species is more than welcome. Even here along the vehicle driveway We do have a little jungle. Everything is growing. While directly across, we do have this. This here is our Paddock A07. It has been lagging behind a little bit, and we will soon split it in half. We take advantage of the two fence posts there that you can see. We used to do this by installing the polywire manually, but now we want to do this semi-permanently. And as you can see, under these two trees we do have a lot of tall things now. Last year that was not the case. So that's a very positive development. It's not lush grasses, it's all kinds of things, but that's okay. It's evolving, and Mother Nature knows what should grow now at this point in time. One can clearly see what they like to eat. It is the grasses, and they have been grazing them down to the ground, while the brassicas are still standing. And as this is now the Easter weekend, mob grazing did not happen here. It will, but when there is a holiday we keep it a little bit more relaxed. So this is when you do not mob graze. Then a lot of the not so interesting plants keep standing, and the ones that are more interested, they will be grazed down to the ground. So mob grazing is a good thing, and that is why we need to step up this game. This is the area A5 where they will be next. I'm opening the gate now and they can come in whenever they like. They are currently in another paddock, and this is how it looks like, at least in a better patch. This might not be perfect, but the area has received enough rest time, and if it's not as tall as I would like it to have, it's because of lack of nutrients. So we need to bring in the animals in order to make this grow taller and lusher. So this is as good as it gets, and with more animal intervention the rest will follow. At least so is the theory, but it seems to be working out. This gate to A5 is now open, and I just looked it up. A5 had 49 days of rest, so that should definitely be enough for the grasses and all the other forage plants to grow tall. But due to lack of nutrients, moisture cannot be the problem. It has rained quite a bit, and compacted soil. That is all what we get. So we need to continue working. This is a little bit of the blueberries that are there, but we are not really doing anything with them. And our little bovine herd is here in this paddock. They will spend the night in there, and tomorrow, when they finished grazing it off, they will then move to the Paddock A5 where I just opened the gate. This is not supposed to be drinking water, neither a pond. It was a big wallow that the pigs used when they were here, and it was dug quickly with the backhoe during the summer when they first arrived. This is now of course filled with rainwater, and a cow who's thirsty and does not want to go all the way to the clean water, well, they just drink here. but this is how it is. There's nothing we can do except fencing it off. It will eventually dry out, but then more rain is in the forecast, and so that's how it is. And you can see she's drinking it, and I guess that's okay, because that is her environment. Whom am I to tell her that this is not good water? She is supposed to know. There's still a lot of forage in here. They have been here since 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it is almost 8 o'clock now. So they will need some time to graze this off. But in any case, tomorrow is a Sunday, so that I don't have to rush. I opened the other gate so that I will not encounter this little herd looking for food where they are not supposed to. And I show you the view across the fence. So this is the patch of the neighbor with the tractor, who tilled and seeded. There were hardly any animals in here. So that is what he has. Of course, it's more grasses than other things, because the other things had been destroyed. And now this is what is left, or that was placed there. It's nice. It's going to seed as well. So it's good to have the direct comparison. Keeps you grounded and also tells you whether you are on track or you are going backwards. And now, with my newfound wisdom about stocking density, I would call this light. So twice would be interesting, but twice requires to bunch them up, and that requires to be present. We can do this. So there in the center there is a fence post that has insulators on both sides, or actually on all 4 sides, so we can do 4 sectors here. That cow is using it to scratch herself, which is also okay. But I also need some rest, so because it's the Easter weekend, the guys have been here to help a little bit out, but we are not trying to run a tight ship on a holiday. That is for a regular work week. So this is as it is. It's not bad, but of course 4 sectors and actively grazing would be nicer. But that is what we are going to do now during the week, and there's no harm in relaxing for a few days in between. As you can see here, they are going for the grasses between the brassicas. They eat the brassicas when they have to, but as long as there's something else, they just try to go around. So bunching them up would solve that problem next time. This one here is the youngest bull. That is the one that we purchased as a breeding bull. While here is one of the original 3, and here next to him there is another one. So you can see there is a difference in size. We will see what size he will eventually have. The sun is about to set. The day was pretty hot. We had already 26 degrees centigrade, that is. And of course that was in the shade, so in direct sunlight it was a lot hotter. And what I'm showing here is Paddock A01, where they have been yesterday. and they grazed this off very well. So I'm happy with the result, and soon they can come back in some 30-40 days. This here is the edge of our forest in front of the outflow of the water reservoir, which is to the right. We intended a little while ago, I think that was in 2018 or even 19, to plant some raspberries and similar things here, but they all died due to lack of water, so that was a failed experiment. We had dug a little bit of a swale, that is this ditch here behind, and now we have this growing here, which is okay. Here and there horses will graze in this area, and eventually I think we should try raspberries and blueberries and all these one more time when we are a little bit more prepared, because this is a nice area and it's the edge of a forest where this kind of berries usually can be found. So this would be a nice project to establish here some berry production. Looks like they had a conversation and now made peace. Well, conversation seems to be still going on. They always like to remind the other one who is higher in rank. That is how it goes. And as I was saying, they go for the grasses between the brassicas and carefully navigate around the brassicas. The calves are still drinking milk, even if they are quite big. But soon that will stop. As we learned the last time, we need to actively wean them in order to avoid the mothers dying from producing milk. The young bull is practicing with his sister, which is also interesting, but she's the only one of his size. And this guy, 55848, is really looking nice. Unfortunately, this is probably one of the last images you are going to see of this fellow, because we definitely need to take him out before the inspection for tuberculosis. The vet says he should not be around when that happens. He does not have tuberculosis, but a false reading could create a lot of hassle, and so we better turn him into meat. During the remainder of this month we need to get this going, and the new grasses and all this have definitely done him good. He is really a big fellow. Of course, the cow next to him is one of those limousine heifers that were not growing. So it's not a comparison, that is just. But that gives you some idea how big he is. We will see how many kilos of meat we will get out of him, or I should probably say beef. This here in the center of this image used to be the road. And I just want to mention this. I predicted this early on when we put the road here next to the paddocks. In our case, because of that management and our quest to retain more and more moisture in the soil, our driveway will eventually need a lot of gravel and other things to be kept dry. Because the driveway will also improve. So the soil will be moist and soft the same way as next to it. And in this particular case there's a little bit of shade during the day because of the trees next to it, and so it stays. And from this side it might also leak, so that is a nice problem to have. So here is the same thing. This is also moist, and further ahead there is another wet spot. We already added some gravel to it. We should add more, but then it's not a big problem at the moment. But maybe in the future, when we do some tourism, for example, then this should be a very well maintained road, and people with regular vehicles should be able to get in and out without looking like they have gone off-road. There is one more, and it is definitely completely in the open, so there is no shade. You see, there's no tree around. And there's more of these puddles. So in a little while we definitely need to fix our road because it's too wet. And I find this quite amusing. There are easily 10 of these spots that stay wet. It means that the ground below is saturated. So it won't sink in. And as long as the sun is not strong enough to make it evaporate, it will stay. Because this is another one that sits in full sunlight.
This is a part of Finca El Moralejo run by a friend. I went there to check out some Iberian pigs that we want to bring to our place in order to start an experiment with 5 male pigs who have not been castrated and have no nose ring. He runs some 800 pigs every year and has quite extensive installations. The owner, Antonio, has studied agroeconomics at the local university at Cordoba and has participated in a few programs regarding ecological farming and is very interested in the topic of holistic management. A while ago he planted these trees to restore the riparian area of this creek.
¿Qué árbol es qué árbol?
Mira, este árbol brotó hace 2 semanas y se ha quemado. Del frío se ha congelado. La de esto. Entonces, esto es fresno, aquello es aliso y esto es álamo blanco. También hay álamo negro, alguna higuera. Esos espinos, esos sí estaban. Eso es majuelo, Crataegus monogina. Ese sí estaba.
Tiene sentido, sí.
Pusimos solo aquí porque era, digamos, el talud que estaba más desprotegido.
That was it for today. Soon you will see 5 of these guys at our place. Please come back in a few days to see how we continue.